This episode of Political Radar is brought to you by ReleaseWire.
Admiral, radar shows that we have liberals approaching at 3 o'clock, and libertarians at 9 o'clock, and conservatives at 6 o'clock. They're coming from every angle, every viewpoint. Oh, it's Political Radar with your hosts, Rhonda and Elliot.
Hey, all you political junkies, welcome to Political Radar, the best 30 minutes of unscripted, uncensored political talk you will hear all day long. And we are moving on to episode 23. And this episode for me, and I think I might say this every time, is going to be, I think, very, very interesting and very, I guess, unique episode. We're going to talk about the
Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Oh, not Michael Jordan.
Not Michael Jordan, and I'm hoping...
I don't know. See, I hear 23.
I'm hoping a lot of our listeners don't even know who that is, but...
What?
Michael Jordan, greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.
Okay, anyway. So we are talking about the log cabin Republicans and who they are, what they do. I guess, you know, we're going to get the gist on this. So we have in the studio today Devin Gatton, who is the chair of the Log Cabin Republicans of Wisconsin. Hello and welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, Devin.
Thank you.
So we need you to, I guess, give us a synopsis. What and who are the Log Cabin Republicans? What do they stand for? What's the point? Are they strangling themselves right now? Because obviously the convention is a bit interesting, especially on topic of lesbian, gay, and transgender situation. So can you give us a little backstory?
Yeah, very quickly. I want to let all your viewers know that even though I am the chair of Log Cabin Republicans, I am here as an individual within Log Cabin. I am not representing as the chair of Log Cabin, and that's important because as a federation, we are broken up into different chapters, with the national chapter taking preview over all of the national issues. So I can speak to whomever based on me being an individual, but not as the chair. I focus as the chair here in Wisconsin. I deal with everybody from the governor's race on down, and local parties, but I can't speak officially on the national politics. However, so Log Cabin Republicans, we are a group of Republicans, Libertarians, conservatives who have all come together that are supportive of gay rights, supportive of trans rights, and we fight both within the Republican Party and also the gay community to be able to bring the two together, to be able to prevent both the negative things from happening within the Republican Party, dealing with the gay rights, and also bringing like-minded gay individuals into the fold to be able to ensure that there is communication between the two groups. We have been around since the 1980s. We started with something called the Briggs Initiative, which was in California. There was a initiative going forward which basically said that if you were gay, you were not allowed to teach in a public high school. And Log Cabin Republicans formed out of gay Republicans who helped elect, at the time, Governor Reagan, to fight with him to prevent this from going forward, and it was successful. And President Reagan was one of the, I wouldn't say founders of Log Cabin, but he was one of the definitely one of the in spirit. He was one of the founders. He was one of the people who helped Log Cabin get off the court and actually start playing the game with everybody.
Okay, so thank you for your service, by the way, because that has to be a difficult endeavor.
Sure.
I can't imagine, especially right now. Okay, so that's interesting. That's a lot of history on that, as well as I'm just wondering, how do you feel right now? What are your successes, and what do you think you need to do to, obviously, the current climate of Republicans and gay rights is getting very interesting, especially at the convention that's happening right now. I know they're talking about conversion therapy. That's on the floor for a vote, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So does that make you feel like you have a whole lot of work to do, or do you think that that's acceptable as a Log Cabin Republican? Where do you stand, or where does the country win, lose if there is conversion therapy? And how would they implement that? I don't even understand that, because how would you actually even get that out there?
Well, a couple things, a couple points. First of all, I'm split, both on the national level and also with the the issue in general. First of all, I'm going to start with the issue in general.
Actually, can I interrupt you? Can we lay it out there what conversion therapy is, just in case people who are listening aren't aware of what it is?
Of course.
What is it?
Conversion therapy is an absolute abhorrent version of pray the gay away. Instead of just praying to try to convert somebody, you're actually taking them into a therapist, often using electroshock therapy to try to change somebody from being gay to being straight. It has an absolutely abysmal track record in terms of actually working. I believe it has something like a 5% success rate. But people still look at it as an option because they're archaic in many examples. But
who's archaic?
A lot of the people that actually support conversion therapy are very archaic, very backwards. They clearly don't understand the science behind it, and clearly don't understand the science behind what makes somebody gay and how it makes them gay. So the idea behind conversion therapy is they attach electrodes to your genitals.
Oh my God.
And then they begin to show you pornographic images of opposite sex things and then same sex things. And they will shock you every time you see a same sex picture. And the idea is that it trains your body not to become aroused when you see same sex things happening.
Okay. Wow. That's complete bullshit. Anyway, how do you feel about that though? Like, do you really believe, I've heard it, I've seen it on Twitter as far as like, this is on the platform. This is what, the Republicans are voting on. Is this really happening? Or is this just one person, isolated person that brought this to the table and said, hey, let's get this through?
This is definitely an individual who brought it forward. He's the head of the Family Research Council.
Fantastic.
Tony Perkins, an amazingly disgusting man. And it was him who pushed it. It was him who brought it forward. I have friends who are out in Cleveland right now who were part of the platform committee who are openly gay and seriously fought this to the bitter end. They kept them well over the allotted time to try to ensure that this thing doesn't go through. It did pass the platform committee. It still has yet to be voted on by the whole of the body of the whole.
It passed as in, yes, we should absolutely be shocking people's testicles so that they're not gay.
Absolutely. Now, I am hopeful for this reason and this reason alone. This started to happen. This started to be considered here in Wisconsin.
How and when and why and who?
Republicans at a local level, usually in very conservative areas, Sheboygan, things of that area. Glenn Grothman's area, seat of power.
Yes, the man who left his mother's basement to move to Washington. Yes.
So that's where it kind of started out of. Log Cabin in Wisconsin was able to rise up and defeat all of it. It made it nowhere on a county level. We prevented everything on a county level from going through that affected the gay community in a negative light.
So that was a very big, I would say, that's something that's huge that you have a success with.
Absolutely. Here at the local level, Wisconsin's been a standard bearer for what log cabins should be doing and how they should be doing it within the Republican Party. We have, for the last 4 years running, since I've been the chair here in Wisconsin, there has been nothing negative either in the resolutions or in the platform dealing with the gay community. Anytime there has been, Log Cabin has been able to prevent those things from going through. And we've gone to every single committee meeting, resolutions hearings, state conventions, local, county, and district conventions, and we've stopped it from happening. That's the reason why I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful as an individual, but I'm also leery of where this is going. This is by far the most anti-gay platform we have ever seen within the Republican Party, in my lifetime at the very least, but most likely ever.
So what's Plan B? So if this goes through and it gets voted what's the platform on burning witches? What's the platform on runaway slaves? Like, who are these crazy people? And is Plan B to move to the Libertarian Party?
Well, right now, me as an individual, I don't claim to speak for everybody. Log cabin Republicans, even though we have the word Republican in our name, like I said, we're a broad spectrum. We got libertarians, we've got conservatives, we got independents, we got Republicans. We even have some Democrats that support us and join in with our fight within the group itself.
Well, they should all support you.
Oh, sure,
really,
sure. And as an individual, I will almost assuredly be voting for Gary Johnson come the election.
Elliot likes to hear that one.
I just want people to vote their conscience.
Sure. I
across the board.
Personally, okay, so that was the other part that I want to talk about with the convention was the platform and the Republican Party in Cleveland is separate from the nominee. I personally cannot stand Donald Trump. And I don't know if I could really impress that upon your listeners without them seeing me on how he makes me tense. He makes me anxious. But in terms of gay rights, for the Republican Party, he's the most gay-friendly Republican nominee ever.
So I was walking through Walmart last night. Don't judge. It was on the way.
Sorry,
there was
I had to laugh
There was a
at
book
that.
in the children's section. I don't know if it was a coloring book or what. I was in a hurry. It said Super Trump. It was a book. I just had to throw it in there. Yeah, I
As in actual Trump?
as in actual Trump, Super Trump, or Trump the Superman or something. It was the craziest thing I ever saw. I wish I had time to look at
And
it.
it's in Walmart?
In Walmart at the kids' book section.
Enough said. Okay.
Sorry. Well, I just felt like that had to be put in.
No worries. But I mean, like I said, he's the most, on paper, the most gay-friendly Republican we've ever had. I mean, he had, when it comes to one of the most divisive issues right now, transgender rights and the ability for transgender individuals to be able to use the bathroom, he's not only supportive in terms of his rhetoric, but he's also inviting people like Caitlyn Jenner over to his office building to use whatever bathroom she wants. And
You think he's pandering? Do you really think he feels that way?
No. I looking at the entirety of his statements over his entire lifetime, I think he really is supportive of the gay community, and he really has been his entire life.
Well, if we look at his basically, I would think his stance on most things in his lifetime, he's not even a Republican.
No, and that's an argument that's been really made a lot, is that he is simply using the Republican Party to further himself. For a very long time, it was thought that his entire nomination, his entire election, was all about promoting Donald Trump, not about actually winning the presidency. He didn't care if he won the presidency or not. All he cared about was able to further his brand.
And now we're giving him too much airtime. Can you please tell me? Can you please tell me how the log cabin, where that name came from?
Sure. Log cabin Republicans, during the Briggs Initiative, they wanted to hearken back to the days of Abraham Lincoln, the fact that he was born in a log cabin, and just basically bring their identity of Abraham Lincoln into the 21st century, the 20th century at the time. And that's where the name Log Cabin Republicans came from.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just fascinated by this whole thing that, I mean, obviously there has to be some sort of presence in the party, because I do have people that are friends of mine that are Republican that are definitely very, they're friends of lesbian, gay, transgender people. So I guess what I'm confused about and what I don't understand and what I wonder about the future and how this is going to go down with conversion therapy on the table, with, like, as you said, it's the most unfriendly climate we've had for the gay community with the Republicans. What do you think that does for the chances of them? And can you speak to that? Can you not speak to that, nationally? And not only that, the local and state governments that we have, I guess specifically state, I look at, who's on the ticket right now, and even the governor, like, is he for conversion therapy? Where does he stand on this? I know he likes to just not have a stance because that basically, eliminates him having anything that people can get pissed off about. But where do you think that the climate is right now? Even like, let's just go with the state. Where are we at statewide?
Statewide, when it comes to conversion therapy, it will never happen. It's never been considered. I keep in close contact with a lot of the party leadership here, and they have it's never come up because it's never been an issue.
Well, this it's so crazy. So they support conversion therapy, but as law, as like a good idea,
as they support conversion therapy. Okay, the idea is that parents, specifically because this is dealing with parents who have children who are gay or perceived to be gay, they should be allowed to submit their children to this torture, because let's call it what it is. It really is torture. And they should be allowed to submit their children to this. And that's really what it's looking at is should the parent, does this parental rights trump an individual rights to be able to be safe in their own home? And ultimately that's what it comes down to within the platform right now. And I mean, that's I can't really tell you where we're going to be going with that as a national platform. State-wise, nobody talks about it because it's not an issue. Right now, the hot button issue, like I mentioned earlier, was transgender rights. Jesse Kramer's come forward and put forward a bill again.
And who can you tell us who Jesse Kramer is?
Sure, Jesse Kramer's an assemblyman down in he's in between Green Bay and Milwaukee. There's no real major city there, so it's difficult to explain kind of how to your viewers kind of where he is. But it's in between Milwaukee and Green Bay, in between Fond du Lac and Green Bay. I'm sorry, Fond du Lac and Milwaukee. Anyways, he's put forward a bill for a second time to try to prevent students in schools to be able to use the bathroom of their gender, of their gender preference. We as Log Cabin members were able to contact the correct people, get in touch with the people that we need to get in touch with the last session to prevent this from going forward. And it was prevented, and he's coming back again this next session to try to do it again.
Wow.
That's not even a Republican ideal, because
Right.
they're supposed to be in favor of letting local school boards do what they want.
No, I completely agree.
That's a huge overreach, isn't it? I mean, that's complete overreach.
Sure, and it's one of the arguments that we use against them. This last election, the spring election, it may have upset a lot of people, but honestly, I just don't care. In the Supreme Court justice race, the Supreme Court Justice Bradley, she put forward back in her teenage years a letter within Marquette newspaper dealing with the gay rights. I wrote it's not really so much an article, but more of just a piece in support of Justice Bradley about how she's changed on it. She's moved on the issues, and this is what we want to see within the gay community from somebody who did a complete 180 from where she was as a child up to where she is now, which is she's gone to gay fundraisers. She's worked with Fair Wisconsin. She's worked with Log Cabin Republicans, and she's very supportive of the gay community now. And people were just digging into her constantly, and I couldn't deal with it anymore, so I snapped and basically told everybody off about it in a very long piece that I wrote. Well, the Republicans in Wisconsin saw that, and many of them believe that is the sole reason why she was able to win in the spring, was because of my support for her directly and the things that she has done, the way she has changed on this issue. And so we plan on using that clout to prevent things like this from coming up.
So it's really not in their best interest, the Republicans, to be on the train of, we're going to take all your gay rights away, and you really don't have a place in this world, and equality is not for you.
Not at all.
So what do you think the strategy is there? Are they just really playing so hard and fast to their religious base? Do they think there's that many people out there that are that hateful?
Some, absolutely. There's a myth that has happened in the last 4 years saying basically that 4 million conservatives and Republicans chose to stay home in November of 2012 during the presidential election because of the fact that Mitt Romney wasn't quote unquote conservative enough for them, or because of the fact that he was Mormon instead of some other type of Christian religion.
So they're trying to get people out of the church pew to the ballot. That's what they're trying to do. That's
Absolutely.
The entire reason. So this is completely self-serving.
I would argue that most of them believe in this. People like Jesse Kramer actually believe in the argument he's making. People like Tony Perkins the person who, like I said, he's the executive of Family Research Council right now. He is also the person who put forward the conversion therapy portion of the platform. He actually believes in this. Now,
or he's gay and he thinks that if he can do this, he can actually change, the world and the perception, and then he can convince himself.
Well, technically, the conversion therapy for adults has always been legal. What an adult does to themselves is always been allowable. An adult has always been and always will be allowed to go do conversion therapy if that's what they so choose.
So conversion therapy, could you actually be a 12-year-old who maybe expressed some sort of homosexual thoughts to your parents, and then all of a sudden your balls are clipped and you're being shocked? This is actually how this works?
Yeah.
So the Republican Party.
Is that legal right now?
In certain states, it is legal.
What states are okay with that?
God. I know it is not legal here in Wisconsin, New Jersey, California, New York.
Are any of these states South?
There are some states in the South that do still allow for conversion therapy.
Yeah, the same states that think that if we don't, talk about sex, we'll never have it. So let me think about this. So this is crazy.
Well,
so
maybe that'd be good. Maybe they.
Yeah. Maybe they'll start to, maybe they can actually do the same thing to women as well, to keep them from having sex. That might be a really productive thing to talk about. This is mind-boggling. So right now, the Republicans, if I'm hearing you clearly, at the convention, they have on the floor, it passed committee. You said that, correct?
Correct.
So there are people that believe in this. Conversion therapy, where they're going to attach electrodes to someone's genitals and shock them into being, to lusting after a woman.
Yes.
They're spending time, they're spending energy. This is literally on the Republican platform right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I have I hate to keep pounding on this, but I don't even believe in circumcision. I think this whole thing is insane. But I'm a freedom lover. I lean libertarian, so I sort of want parents to be able to make some of these decisions. But I mean, we do draw the line on things that are a lot less than that.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, we're drawing a line of literal torture. I mean, if you want to torture somebody, if you're thinking torture, you're thinking attaching somebody up to electrodes and lighting their genitals with electricity.
How about if we actually take, elected officials who cheat on their wives? Let's do the same thing to them.
We could just put all of them in there.
Yeah, let's just do it all.
Because we don't know if they're telling the truth anyway. So I do want your opinion on this issue that maybe you have heard us talk about it, maybe you haven't. But we were talking about sex education in the local schools here, and some of the state legislation that's handed down from above that preaches abstinence first. What's the log cabin?
Log cabin, at least in Wisconsin, tries to stay away from any other issue that's outside of gay rights. We don't like to. We have a number of people who are broad spectrum, so we try to stick with the commonality between us, which is the gay rights movement, promoting gay rights, things of that nature. In the past, we've had opportunities to be able to join with other coalitions and other groups in support of different issued bills and things of that nature, and we just stay away from it. One particular instance comes to mind is I was asked if I wanted Log Cabin to sign on to the abortion law here in Wisconsin dealing with you have to be so far from a hospital and
admitting rights.
What's that? I'm sorry?
The admitting rights when they
yes, the admitting rights, and we stayed away from it for a number of reasons, but in particular because Julianne Appling had signed off on the bill, and we want nothing to do with Julianne Appling. We want to stay as far away from her as absolutely possible. And for your viewers, Julianne Appling is the Tony Perkins of Wisconsin. She's absolutely she's terrible.
And where is she? And what is she?
She is the executive for 40 years of the Wisconsin Family Action, which is supportive of quote unquote Wisconsin families, but it's a front mostly for an anti-gay lobbying group here in Wisconsin.
Would she have any chance been with the the Institute for American Values? Would she be with those people?
Very closely.
She is.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is actually all part of I guess we're trying to uncover some of the, I guess, handouts that are being circulated through public schools in regards to abstinence, and it's very very anti-gay, if you are a single parent. It's actually out distributed right now in public schools. That's interesting. So I have to get her name after.
Yeah, she's absolutely terrible here. She's been living with her partner for the last 40 years, 30 years. And
really?
It's a well-known secret that the majority of her hatred towards the gay community is mostly hatred towards herself.
Obviously, which I think can actually happen with a lot of people. And I think, what did Bill Maher say? If you have more than 5 pieces of legislation that have to do with people being, gay and having to control their rights, then you're probably gay. Right?
Can't disagree with them.
I
I really can't.
So we're coming up towards the end of our time. You're based out of Milwaukee?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what are what else do you want to say to listeners about Log Cabin Republicans, about the current platform?
Sure.
Whatever.
Very briefly, there's this idea that Log Cabin Republicans are traitors, that we are self-hating. We loathe ourselves, and it couldn't be further from the truth. We fight for gay rights within the Republican Party. Do we lose some fights? Absolutely. Everybody, for every issue, loses some fights sometime. But I would rather the Log Cabin Republicans and people like us fighting within the Republican Party to be able to change the Republican Party, to be able to bring them into the 21st century on this issue, than to allow people like Julianne Appling or Tony Perkins to be able to control the party without any checks. We would have a one-party system at that point, and I'm sorry, no political system can deal with a one-party system.
I think it's really important that people that are listening know that you are not a gay man, that you're in fact married with children, and you are a chair of this federation.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's really interesting, and I think that's even more powerful that you are doing this because you're not gay. I mean, you believe in that right so much that as a heterosexual man, you are leading this cause, and I just that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that.
Okay. No problem. Not a problem. It's my pleasure.
So are we calling it a game?
I think we're calling it a game. That was a
right.
great episode. Good conversation. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So that wraps up episode number 23 already. You can get some show notes at politicalradar.com/23. If you're interested in sponsoring, please contact us. You can shoot an email to contact@politicalradar.com. And of course, check out the Political Radar community on Facebook. You can also follow Political Radar on Facebook to get new episodes when they come out. You can subscribe on iTunes. Please go onto iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a rating. Please share with a friend. Thanks. That's it.
If you enjoyed this episode of Political Radar, please share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Even better, submit a show review to iTunes or Stitcher. To listen to other episodes of Political Radar, please visit politicalradar.com/episodes. To support our podcast, please visit our sponsors who make the show possible. You can do this by visiting politicalradar.com/sponsors.
Thanks for listening to Political Radar. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. To stay up to date, visit politicalradar.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.
This episode of Political Radar is brought to you by ReleaseWire. ReleaseWire is a powerful media engagement service connecting businesses to journalists and bloggers. If you need to get the word out about your business, ReleaseWire is an effective and affordable way to reach journalists and bloggers who are truly interested. And we have a special offer for you today. Submit your first on-demand press release with ReleaseWire and save 25% by entering the discount code PoliticalRadar. That's Political Radar. ReleaseWire, from release to results.
Political Radar is a proud member of the Newsmakers Podcast Network, an ever-growing network of podcasts covering a wide range of topics. Check them out at npcn.tv.